Hello, this is Christina Barr, and you're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr. Today, we're going to be talking about Joe Biden's disastrous press conference, but it wasn't disastrous enough to give Democrats enough fuel to totally push him out, to invoke the 25th Amendment. I mean, they could still make a case for that, but, it was good enough, which the Trump campaign is happy about, and I'm sure Biden is happy about, and his family's happy about, but the Democrat Party is divided on it. But the media, they asked a lot of questions about kind of his fitness and stuff, but they didn't ask questions like, why haven't you had a cabinet meeting in, like 9 months? So they definitely could have went harder with a lot of things. But it is what it is. But there were some spectacular NATO moments that we're going to talk about. I'm sure that you've already heard about, but we're going to talk about it together because it's sad, but it's funny. So I guess at this point we have to laugh to keep from crying and feeling all the dread in our life. So we will be talking about the Biden NATO stuff. Also, there was a slideshow that listed some pro-life groups as some terrorists at like a base, or fort. So we're gonna talk about that, and I'm like, okay, is this the internet just saying stuff? And there was, I guess, a apology. So we'll talk about that. FYI, this is not a live broadcast, and it is not live because I'm actually at the Fallen and Wounded Soldiers Fund. So this is the 7th annual event for the Salute Our Warriors, which is for the Fallen and Wounded Soldiers Fund. So I will be there. Hopefully it is not raining right now because I checked the weather and it said thunderstorms. It's been raining a lot. I called a friend of mine who's in another part of the country, and they're like, oh, I hope it rains because the planet really needs it right now, and people they're on a budget for how much water that they can use, and the neighbors are snitching on each other, etc., etc. And I'm like, it's raining here. I'm like, we've had rain here, so maybe it'll move, but we're supposed to have thunderstorms. So I pray that I don't know, the Lord moves those storm clouds away or something, and I'm not like soaked wherever I am, but know that I'm thinking of you and thought enough about you to let's put the video together. So it's streaming now. So anyway, if you guys have any super chats, I obviously cannot read them, but I do appreciate you sending them for sure. And if you're watching back later, you guys can give super thanks. But if you'd like to support, you guys can go to the website, blacktnews.com/donate to support there, because it does cost to stream and run my website, all that stuff. So if you guys can support, I do appreciate it. Also, I know not everybody wants to support that way or can give that way. I know the times are tough, especially with Bidenflation and so on. So another way to just support is to share my content, to tell other people to, listen to the live, or you listen to the live, watch it back later, comment, help boost things. So that's another way that you can help. On social media, these different platforms have been suppressing my stuff and suppressing it hard. On TikTok, they're suppressing it so hard right now. And then you write to them and they're like, nothing's happening, nothing's going on. And it's like, okay, sure. But I thank you guys for watching now, and to those of you who continuously watch. And I know some people don't get the notifications like they should, but they know that I stream at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And unless I'm out of town or take a break or I'm sick or something like that, or, there's some kind of malfunction. Yesterday at the end of our broadcast, my power went out, and my battery was still working, but the router went out. So I had to get the Wi-Fi on my phone real quick. And it was just a summer outage. Sometimes it gets really hot, and I don't know. Sometimes power goes out in the summer, and that was one of the times, thankfully my sister, she was working from home, but she had just wrapped up when the power went out. But I'm like internally like freaking out because I blanked out on you guys. But that was what happened, and I guess I can't. I was gonna apologize, but I can't control what happens. But anyway, let's actually get to the stories of the day. So Joe Biden, he had a big boy press conference, as the White House was calling it. I don't know why you would call it big boy press conferences, because he's a grown man. He's not a big boy. They're treating him like a baby. One time, Peter Doocy said, "Why do you guys treat him like a baby?" And they said, "We don't treat him like a baby." They clearly do, and coddle him and protect him and keep him a little too close to the chest and away from staff and so on. But I was waiting for the press conference last night, and I was just kind of out and about. And originally it's supposed to be at 5:30, then they moved it up to 6:30. So I'm like, okay, it's going to be at 6:30, and it still hadn't started yet. And then they didn't end up coming out to like 7:30. And it's the biggest press conference of his life, because so people were saying, man, if this was my proof of life press conference, I would not be late to it. But he was late. They had to push it back. I don't know what, for whatever reason, but it was late. A lot of people are late to these things, but this was a really big deal to be late to. So while scrolling on the internet, waiting for this press conference to start, I see this tweet that says, this is it. This is the moment Biden's presidency ended. So I'm like, oh gosh, what is this?
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. You can beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better. And now.
So people have said this, like, if you had to announce like Churchill and you accidentally announced Hitler, like it's so crazy. By the way, I tried to put that post on TikTok like immediately when I saw it. And then maybe because it said the word Putin in it, and TikTok was like, we're shutting that down. And they had my stuff just processing like all night long. And then it only got like 200 views from the time I saw it. So I don't know what's going on with that app, but yeah, that was crazy when I saw that. And that was a really unfortunate moment for Joe Biden. Now, this was before the press conference, and there were moments in the press conference. So I oh boy, if they canceled it after that moment, that would have been crazy. But people did different angles and close-ups of Zelensky's face in that moment, and his face was gold too.
What you're seeing there is a different angle, and you are seeing President Zelensky's reaction to the moment that President Biden mistakenly called him President Putin. And so you're seeing Zelensky's reaction there right before he went to the podium. What you're seeing there is a different angle.
Yeah.
And you are seeing President Zelensky's reaction to the moment that President Biden mistakenly called him President
scratch
Putin.
The nose.
And so you're seeing Zelensky's reaction there right before he.
Yeah. Not a great moment, but you know, he's getting them checks, you know. He's still getting them checks. So he covered it for him. He's like, well, I'm better, and just, you know, kind of laughed it off. It was a bad moment. It was a bad moment, but there are memes. There are now memes. The Wheel of Fortune, Zelensky saying Putin. So memes have been born. And that was probably the wildest thing. But again, that wasn't even the press conference yet. So after this disastrous moment happened, people were like, what is going to happen at the press conference? And I don't even think they were like one question in before he made this massive screw up, which is produce a lot of memes.
Separately, What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, that I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump if you didn't think that he was qualified. Okay. I would if I were Trump, I would just take that clip and then add a picture of him with his logo. I was like, I'm President Trump and I approve this message. And I would just use that as an ad, like quick radio ads. Well, not radio, but I guess you could do radio. But I mean, like ads that people pull up when they're looking at their phones and playing games, like quick ads like that, quick, TV spots that are really short. I don't know. I would, nothing else needs to be said. And there was another moment that was really bad, but there's also reactions here from his staff, as he says that line too.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, that I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one. The fact is that the consideration.
Yeah. Now, Blinken is just, they got a pretty good poker faces, but they're probably dying inside. Just dying inside. The biggest moment of your life, of his presidency. And this is how people are going to remember him going down, and he blows it like that. So someone made this meme pretty funny. We did it, Sleepy Joe. Mocking when Kamala Harris, when she got the call for the vice presidency, they used the image of Trump when he found out that Ginsburg had died, and he's like, I'm the vice president. Wow, I didn't know that. You're telling me this now for the first time. So there were also blended images of Trump and Kamala Harris. I don't think I bookmarked any of those, but those were scary. Very scary. And at the very end of the press conference, he was asked about his screw up there. Like they were trying to end it. He gave like an extra 2 questions, and then someone stood up, I think, and just, asked the question. I don't remember if he pointed to them or not, but he did answer the question, and boy, this was a way to close it out.
Respectfully, earlier you misspoke in your opening answer. You referred to Vice President Harris as Vice President Trump. Right now, Donald Trump is using that to mock your age and your memory. How do you combat that criticism from tonight?
Listen to him.
Okay, I'm Donald Trump and I approve this message. Like, listen to me. Or they could open up the RNC convention with Donald Trump's speech. Like, listen to him, and Donald Trump's kind of like, okay, here I am, let's roll out all the evidence. And he said, listen to me, and just go from there. And I don't know if he meant probably just listen to him, as in listen to how he babbles, or listen to him being incoherent. Like, you could maybe interpret it that way, but if I'm being generous, let's say that's how he meant it. But guys, it just didn't work out well for him, man. It didn't work out well for him. Now, he talked a long time about, some of his answers were long, and he talked about China, and he talked about Israel, and which he had an answer about Israel that was maybe like 5 minutes long. It was quite lengthy, and he talked about a 2-state solution with Gaza not being occupied, which it wasn't occupied before Hamas attacked. And I mean, I know a lot of people push two-state solutions. I've been talking about it for a while. I just don't. If it were me, if it was Israel, I'd be like, these folks just tried to kill us, and why would we reward them with after their bad behavior when they're talking about if they have another opportunity, they'll kill us again. So if you give them legitimacy here after they did this terrible attack, won't that just empower other people to do more terror if it's going to end with us kowtowing to them and giving them legitimacy? So I'd be like, nah, that dream is dead. You could pry it from our cold dead hands. Like, we're not playing ball with that. Sorry. If it was me, but they've traded land for peace and all kinds of different stuff before. So at the end of the day, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. I just know what I'd be like, nah, no thanks. Sorry. Be like, if you want to come over here and run Gaza and have it be like a little US territory, and you guys have to deal with the tunnels and the terrorists, and you're gonna actually do something, that's one thing. But nah. If you expect us to deal with this and have to live with these terrorist neighbors, and just be like, okay, sure, let's legitimize it. No, sorry. If you want to do something better, you come. And he didn't say anything about the hostages. And there's American hostages over being held by Hamas. Something else he did say, though, he said that Hamas isn't popular in the West Bank. That's not true. That's really not true. So people are like, does he believe that, or is he just saying that? And why is he saying that? It's really not true. But he's an oddball, man. But again, his answers were coherent enough that it didn't justify pushing him out. Like, he really stumbled at the beginning a lot. The end had a banger of a finish, because that last line I just showed you guys when he said, listen to him, was the very way to end the press conference. And by the way, after he said the Zelensky thing, the Dark Brandon Biden HQ actually reshared it. And it seemed like they were trying to, I don't know, just play it off like it wasn't a big deal, or it was kind of a joke. And let me show you guys the tweet. I did have a typo, but like, this was the tweet.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Like, maybe they can laugh at himself, or they're trying to pretend like it wasn't a big flake out. Like, President Putin, he's going to beat President Putin, and arrange it as if it wasn't a flub. Like, oh, Putin, he's going to beat Putin. Yeah, Zelensky. So maybe that's what that tweet is, but we all could see what happened, and he just mixed stuff up. And he mixes stuff up, which, by the way, it is a classic Biden thing. You just say dumb stuff. It's been going on for years. So maybe you can't blame it all on like a mental decline. There are people who said after watching the press conference, like, oh, I actually don't know if he has dementia. It could just be like he's old, he's slow, he's frail. He is stuttering a lot, he's coughing a lot. But as far as the gaffes, he's always been a gaffe machine. It's not new. He's always lied a lot. That's definitely not new. You know, he's always said dumb things. That's not new. It's not new. So yesterday I had some very strong words about him, you know, not being able to serve as president. And it's clear that how they kind of move him about, or that he's not up to the job. And that hasn't changed. That hasn't changed. I'm concerned about him. I'm concerned about what the world sees, which the media did ask questions like the Brits and the French right now, they're covering for you for your big mistakes, but and you know, he talked his way through it, stuttering and flubbing here and there. But it wasn't good for him overall, because it's not good for the nation. It's not good for the nation. And some people are trying to say like, "Oh, that was the most fantastic speech or foreign policy NATO press conference ever." Like, you guys don't think that Obama probably gave a better one? I know the average bear doesn't watch many of these things, but people are watching this one because after his flub with Zelensky and Putin, people are like, is he going to come out and announce that he's no longer running? Like, what's with the delay? Because it was going on for a while. But it's bad. But here's a snippet of him talking about the West Bank.
It's time to end this war. Doesn't mean walk away from going after Sinwar and Hamas. And if you notice, you know better than most, there is a growing dissatisfaction on the West Bank from the Palestinians about Hamas. Hamas is not popular now. And so there's a lot of moving parts. I just have to keep moving to make sure that we get as much done as we can toward a ceasefire, and get those. And by the way, look at the numbers in Israel. I mean, my numbers are better in Israel than they are here. But then again, they're better than a lot of other people here too. But anyway.
From my understanding, that's not true either. Neither of those things are true. I know his numbers are really bad here, but that doesn't mean they're good in Israel. So he's just saying stuff. Other stuff that he said, they asked him would he leave, and he said, not unless there was evidence that there was like no chance of winning. There's pretty good evidence that you're not going to win. I mean, I guess no chance is unlikely. I mean, even Hillary, what they were saying when she was going to beat Donald Trump, they only got her up to 99, I think, or 98%. I don't know if there was never a chance. And obviously he did win. But things are not going good, and they're just getting progressively worse. No, this was for people who wanted to see good. They definitely saw something that was good enough. For people who wanted to see something bad, they definitely saw enough to know that it's the end. But if you were on the left, what you should pay attention to is how happy some folks on the right are about Biden doing well enough to stay the hand of folks who are trying to push him out hard. Now, Trump might not see Kamala as a serious threat, or other folks as a serious threat. I think Kamala's one he doesn't see as a serious threat. I think maybe he really doesn't see anyone as a serious threat. Excuse me. I think there are people who could definitely be a problem. And I think Kamala will be a bigger problem than what they're letting on. The media will cover for her, you know, all these stories or leaks about her not being great, or just videos we've seen of her not being great. People will ignore them and act like she's an ex-Obama, even though there's plenty of evidence that she's not. But folks will do what they have to if they can get a new face. But Trump, his team, all the folks are happy to have Joe Biden stay into the end. And Trump is very fortunate. And you can say, well, Trump's the best president ever, and Trump is this. Blah. Trump, after like the voter fraud stuff, that's not a popular narrative in a general election. It's not. The January 6th, what happened, that was a terrible day. Should have like permanently scarred his legacy. And it will, it has. And all the indictments and stuff, it was enough for people to be inspired to stick with him through the primary. And but if some of the cases that were supposed to go down went down, like the one in Georgia, if they televised that stuff and got people up testifying about how they thought that he should have did the elector stuff and how it wouldn't work and how they told him these challenges wouldn't work, and if people got to hear stuff, if the whole nation watching like they were watching the OJ trial, and people got to hear a lot of this stuff for themselves in real time, it would have made him, I think, look really bad, especially to the middle and to maybe moderate Dems. But everything fell apart. The Jack Smith cases, the Fani Willis case in Georgia, the only thing they have him on is this stupid case that Alvin Bragg brought that should be able to get overturned. Obviously not before the election, but it should be able to get it overturned because it's a stupid ruling. I don't know if they're going to get overturned through the next step because New York's a crazy place, but I think it's like a circuit court or whatever that is next. Like they'd have to like oversee that, but eventually they will get this overturned because it's a really stupid ruling. And most people know that. Like I explained the Trump case, what happened with Alvin Bragg, and I explained it to a cousin who is a Democrat who we've argued with over politics. And before I even brought up the case, she said, I kind of want the orange man back in, We're like, what? And she's like, I don't like this other guy talking about Biden. And so we ended up we were at a family gathering, and then later she came back over and we talked a little bit more. And after I explained the case, she's like, oh, so they're doing to Trump what they do to black men. So if people feel like that, the Democrats have an issue. And Biden and them can say the economy's good. Folks don't feel it, so they don't believe it. They feel like you're gaslighting them. Folks don't like the crime. You can say that there's low crime. I saw a video about Oakland that was just crazy before I got on with you guys about all these places leaving and the flash robberies going on. There was one that went on at a gas station for a while, and the police didn't respond for like 9 hours because they were dealing with folks who had just kind of raided the streets and were doing like drifts with their cars and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, but people don't like seeing stuff on the news about these people who have illegally crossed the border, who have committed crimes or assaulting officers, or who are killing young women, who are raping young women. People don't like it, obviously. And people don't see Biden taking any sort of meaningful steps to close the border. If they could push Biden out and Kamala Harris was suddenly the president of the United States, I would immediately institute, measures to close the border to show them that I'm going to be competent on this issue. The Democrats basically throwing their whole election away over the border is crazy. They must feel like it's worth it to have all these people pour in. And I assume that's why they do it, for their dastardly master plan in the future, thinking that they could somehow scrape by a victory. But they push too hard with this open border stuff, and it's going to cause them to have a loss. it's going to cause them to have a loss. So I said that Trump is really, really lucky that he gets to go up against just unprecedentedly awful people. Joe Biden, his poll numbers are trash. And they can say that Trump is going to be a dictator and all this stuff. We've already experienced Trump, so people might feel like we can survive him, but I'm not too cool about this, what's going on. And I didn't like him, but gas was cheaper. And Biden's up there all talking about NATO this, NATO this. And folks are like, you know what? I'm not really into war. And I'm kind of over this a little bit. Like I want to do something about the guy, the illegal alien who's raping 12-year-olds. Like I want something done about that. Like you doing a lecture about China and talking about how you're going to give all this money to Ukraine. I'm not really feeling that when I don't have money in my pocket and food in my refrigerator. People aren't feeling that. Now there were like Biden voters, who were happy with his performance. Congratulations.
The two of you weren't decided. My question for you, you weren't decided before this happened if you should stay in the race. How do you feel now after watching this news conference?
Relieved, and I think he should stay in.
So your opinion has changed from not sure to he should stay in?
Yes.
Okay. And how about you? How do you feel? You weren't sure. How do you feel now?
Same. I think he's the logical choice.
The two of you weren't decided.
Now, I don't know if I've ever seen a more why is this group all older white women? Is this just like a retirement facility? Some of them look too young for that to be that case, but yeah, the old white ladies are still feeling Biden. They're still feeling Biden there. But sorry, it's just not enough. Not enough to pull them up from this hole. They're done. When I did a short on YouTube and stuff, and after he said the Zelensky thing, I was like, he's done. He's done. Put a fork in him. He's done. He's overcooked. Not only is he overcooked, he had freezer burn when they said let him cook. And it's just over for him. It doesn't mean they're going to push him out. It doesn't mean they're going to invoke the 25th. But the last thing I'll say about this press conference before I go on to the next thing is that he actually said, he was asked about the race, and Biden said that if his delegates wanted to pick someone else, they can do that. Now, he didn't say I release all my delegates like officially. I don't know what process you actually have to do. I'm assuming you have to fill out a form or something at the very least. But he said they can do what they want, like vote their conscience or whatever. So if they want to pick someone else, they can pick someone else. But he's like, but it's not gonna happen, Or so if people press him on that and leave that door open, like, okay, unpledge your delegates and we'll see who they pick. Excuse me, I don't see them doing that because his people have actually been like making calls to shore up that they keep him there. So we'll see what happens, guys. We will see what happens. So anyway, moving on. I want to talk to you guys about this story that I did not know was true. But there were these pro-life groups that were listed as terrorists. So I'm like, is this really a real thing? I saw a picture circulating around Twitter, And I'm like, I want to double check this. So Fort Liberty responds to slide calling anti-abortion groups terrorist organizations. That doesn't sound great. I guess at least they apologized. Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Fort Liberty is responding to backlash after a slideshow presentation used for training at the U.S. Army base referred to anti-abortion organizations as terrorist organizations. A photo circulating on social media shows one slide from a presentation used to train soldiers. The slide, titled Terrorist Groups, listed several groups, including National Right to Life and Operation Rescue, and opponents of Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court ruling that established a right to abortion before it was overturned in 2022. So yeah, they didn't even write Roe v. Wade correctly on the slide. It spelled Roe not as ROE, it was ROW. So that was interesting. But if you oppose Roe v. Wade, I suppose that makes you a terrorist. Fort Liberty responded, sharing the following statement on Facebook. After conducting a commander's inquiry, we determined that the slides presented on social media were not vetted by the appropriate approval authorities and do not reflect the views of the 18th Airborne Corps for Fort Liberty in the U.S. Army or the Department of Defense. They had Roman numerals. The slides were developed by a local garrison employee to train soldiers manning access control points at Fort Liberty. These slides will no longer be used, and all future training products will be reviewed to ensure they align with the current DoD anti-terrorism guidance. Ann Reed is with Operation Rescue, one of the groups listed. The fact that this is being pushed out to the American public is very concerning to us. Ann Reed is with Operation Rescue, said this isn't a great written article, but she said this slide looked familiar. It looks like this was a slide that was reused, that was already used about 15 years ago. It made the news then, and then it has just resurfaced, Reed said. During a phone interview with WRAL News, a representative for Fort Liberty provided additional details, stating that these presentations typically take place every 2 to 3 weeks. They believe this particular one happened as recently as this week, though the exact day is unknown. They are currently investigating the exact number of people who attended, but it could be around 40 people at any given time. Oh, how lovely. Fort Liberty said that this was a training session for the soldiers who manage access points, and that they have initiated a formal 15-6 investigation into the matter. North Carolina Senator Ted Budd released a statement on X, social media platform X, saying smearing pro-life Americans as terrorists is despicable. The materials briefed at Fort Liberty are disturbing. As soon as I became aware of it, I directed my team to contact Army and Fort Liberty officials. They have begun an investigation. The Army must get to the bottom of this and see that it never happens again. So reports from like people who were there say that they weren't saying anything about like Antifa, like that didn't make the list, but you know, these pro-life organizations, you know, make the list. Let me see if I can pull up the image for you guys really quick, because they had other things on there like sidewalk counseling. I thought I liked the tweet. I did like the tweet. Why didn't me go back on X? Because I did like it. I like the tweet with the oh, here we go. So this is the image. So they have anti-abortion right to life and Operation Rescue, pro-life, oppose Roe v. Wade, and they spelled Roe wrong. Types of advocacy, demonstrations and protests. So not like fiery, but peaceful ones, right? Mass demonstrations, life chain, the rescue, the truth display, picketing. Oh dear God, not picketing. Counseling. How dare they? Sidewalk. Crisis center. So are we talking like a pregnancy crisis center? Like if a group does pregnancy crisis counseling, is that enough to make it on the terrorist watch list now? To teach to the people in the army to look out for those people who love to convince women not to kill their babies. I saw this video the other day. I don't know the original content creator because life it was live action. But it wasn't live action. It was one of their like social media personalities on TikTok did a response to someone who was complaining about pregnancy crisis centers and like this is a place where they convince you to not, to not get an abortion. And I'm so puzzled by these people because no matter how you feel about abortion, whether you support it or you don't, we are having a conversation about killing your offspring, your progeny, your heir, your flesh and blood, your or a product of your flesh and blood that have, it's a saying, what flesh and blood means, your sons, your daughters. We're talking about ending their lives, depriving them of their future, their present, their future conscious experience, whatever. Dismembering them, suffocating them, starving them, poisoning them, depending on what time you do the abortion. But we are talking about ending human life. So we could at least have honest conversations about that stuff. We could at least have appropriate, delicate, nuance, whatever you want, what kind of conversations you want to have about it. But it would seem that if you were a rational person who's not insane, who's not just blatantly evil, when people would say, hey, I would really like to convince women to not do this, that the average person would say, yeah, I support that. Why do you want people to not convince women to stop this? Why do you want women to just decide I'm getting an abortion and them to be totally obstructed? And I don't mean like people chain themselves together to the door to stop them from coming in. Okay? I don't mean like that kind of advocacy. I mean, if someone comes up to you and says, this is what happens, like, or would you like to at least hear the heartbeat, your baby's heartbeat before you make this decision? Do you know how developed they are? If you need some help, I will help you. I will help pay for your groceries. I will help you pay for diapers, or we will find you a place to get you set up. So you don't have to do this alone. We'll make an adoption plan. You don't have to do this alone. If you don't want to raise them, someone else, we can find love for your child, but please don't do this. If you have a problem with people doing that, using any kind of persuasion to help a woman make a better decision that isn't death, if you have a problem with that, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? You people aren't pro-choice, you're pro-abortion. Like my governor Gretchen Whitmer vetoing funds for doing a veto line budget thing to block money for going to pregnancy crisis centers, and her people putting out a statement about how, they're bad, or you have Elizabeth Warren mad because they outnumber abortion clinics, or different Democrats who see these places as their adversary. Why don't you want women convinced to not kill their children? Why do you oppose people who want to persuade them to make better decisions? And you know what? This goes beyond like even this abortion topic. There's so many people who just get upset when people say, hey, you shouldn't do that thing. You should choose a better option. And they're, how dare you judge me? How dare you judge them? You think you're God? What is this ought to do? But they'll all day long tell you what you ought to do. you as they criticize you, there's some kind of authority as in what you should be doing or how you should behave. It's all very strange, and I don't know. The self-worship as if it is so out of control, as if the first idea that you had is the most brilliant and no one can ever tell you that it's not a good idea and you should make better decisions. That's just a moral crime, I guess. That's just a moral crime. But, people can grill Ben Shapiro about whether he supports gay sex and marriage and stuff. Well, they didn't ask about gay sex. That was Cory Booker asking different Trump nominees about gay sex. Ben was asked by Eric Swalwell about is gay marriage a sin? If you didn't see that, it was pretty incredible and sad that I don't know, people just can't get over the fact that people have religious opinions. I was looking it up. Let me this is a little snippet of it.
Because we found some receipts. You did say, I think homosexual activity is a sin.
Yes, I'm a religious
I'm
Jew. That's
sure
true.
there's a genetic component.
You
to
found me
sexual
out.
Orientation, but the view of all religious people I know has always been that sexual behavior is something that is up to you. And you said, I may have a desire to sleep with many women, but I do not.
I agree with me. Yes, that's true.
Congratulations on your,
I agree with me. But when he first, because he was trying to break down what things that he agreed about on Project 2025, he's like, do you agree that, gay marriage is a sin? He's like, are you asking me as a religious Jew? Or he's like, do you believe it's a sin? It's like, the behavior is a sin. Like the activity is a sin. And that's in line with major religions as far as I'm aware of. And so he's like, well, I got some receipts, and that's when that got pulled up. But everybody talks about what you ought to do or has an opinion on what is moral, what is not moral. Even if you, people will say there is no objective morality. Religious people will say that, but non-religious people will say that it's subjective. So everything is just your opinion, but we have to listen to your opinion, and your opinion about what we believe is bad for some reason, but you can't justify or really ground your opinions in anything. So who are you to say that I'm wrong about me saying that your stuff is wrong? Anyway, we live in a crazy world right now, guys, and so there's so much uncertainty. One thing that is pretty certain right now is that if Democrats don't change course, Trump is going to have a freaking landslide. And like, he's even gaining ground in New York. We talked about that a little bit the other day. Like, Biden is up by 8 when he should be double digits on Trump in New York. So if it's bad there, it's bad everywhere. And the Democrats are starting to call for Biden to resign because they are afraid of how it's going to affect the down ballot, which Biden seemed to be like aware of their concerns and could appreciate their concerns, but he's still not leaving. So folks are upset that he won't, do what's best for everyone in the party as a whole. He was asked, by the way, by a reporter about him saying that he was a transitionary candidate. I think he said bridge. And they're like, what changed? And he's just like, what I inherited changed. I'm like, how did what you inherited change? Everyone knew what job they were running for as they were running for it. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean that changed? It was the same thing when everyone was running, when you were running with all the other folks. So if you could, you just couldn't fix it fast enough, or maybe you made some boo-boos yourself along the way that were bad. You just have a lot riding on you being the president, and your family they like you being president, and there's a lot with you being president that they benefit from. And like especially his son, who has a lot of legal issues and so on. So he can't just step aside. leave his family's fate like the president in the last, well, it wasn't the last season, there was another season of House of Cards after Kevin Spacey was accused of all that stuff. They just killed him off and had Claire be the president. But the other season, how that ended, you know, he was like, oh yeah, I did all these terrible things, and he was stepping aside and expected Claire to be the president and to, I don't know, to pardon him or whatever. And there's just kind of this dread with like, what if she doesn't do what I need her to do? So the Bidens just aren't gonna maybe leave a lot up to fate. You know, if they're gonna run into the ground, they're gonna run into the ground, and he's gonna finish out his presidency if he can help it. But we'll see how much power Obama and them invoke, and if they're able to move the needle. But it looks like the ship is going down hard, and it's not, you know, gonna turn around and seek any kind of aid. It's just going to drift away like that pier he built in the Middle East, which he did bring up. He was like, I was disappointed. That pier they built for the aid that just got wrecked and was floated away, and they had to dismantle. That was a big waste of money. So at least we know he still has a soul to feel sad inside. At least we know that. Anyway, thank you guys for watching today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Again, I was not live. I'm at an event raising money for veterans, and hopefully it's not raining too hard and people are coming out and we're having a great day. There's food and all kinds of different stuff going on. We're honoring particular veterans who are there. And there's going to be these auctions. There's going to be music and a cool band, and Ted Nugent's going to be there. I was supposed to sing the national anthem originally, and then they're like, "We got Ted, and he wants to play." And I was like, "Oh, I guess I'm not singing." And the person doing the program was like, "Oh, this is the first I'm hearing about Ted, but you know, it's you know, what can I do?" And so that was the second time he's like bumped me from doing a national anthem at an event. So, but it's fine. There's always, you know, next time, whatever. It's not a big deal. Actually, it's not. I'm always honored to be asked or whatever, and it's good to take whatever opportunities you can as they come. And I enjoy blessing the people. Like, I enjoy worship and blessing people. I pray, as you know, before I sing, and people, you know, they just feel really touched, and I want to bless people with that rendition of the national anthem. So it's not really about a me thing. So, you know, I don't normally try to push it. I just, you know, ask, and they're like, yeah, or they'll ask me whatever. So I normally do it, but it's okay. I just think it's funny that Ted has no idea who I am, but he's pushed me out of it twice. It's just a little funny to me. Anyway, thank you guys. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content, a website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website, because it does cost to stream and run and all that stuff. You guys can check out different merch that's available on the store, like this Denounce White Supremacy, Defeat Joe Biden shirt with a list of his racism on the back. We got I Am Not the Victim You're Looking For t-shirt. That's really cool. We got these goat hoodies and goat t-shirts. I do have them in different colors besides white, but those are really neat. So you guys can check the out at the store. And I also have my book, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion. That's also available, that you guys can get on Amazon. There's a link in the description that you guys should be able to click on, and that has all my books listed on there on Amazon. But you can just search my name. God bless you guys, and I will see you on Monday.